Hello, everyone, and good day to you. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I appreciate every one of you, and I do hope that we're going to have a good time this day. My name is Solomon Nizang Shams, and in case you are tuning in for the very first time, they call me Uncle Solomon. Tonight, if you can notice, part of my lips is swollen. I was just helping my kids with their bike, and there was wasps that came out and stung me. So please bear with me. At least I'm able to speak. So that is excellent. Thank you, guys. Every one of you. Let me hear a shout out from some of you wherever you are. Rigobert, all the way from Tanzania. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Zodwa Injani. Thank you, Alpha King. Sister Cecilia, good to have you here. Tsakani, as usual. Emma, she doesn't miss any of it. No, any of it. Thank you, guys. And then I got Christopher saying, stop speaking against the church. So whoever says I speak against the church clearly does not read their Bible. So Prosper, I will leave you to please go read your Bible. That would really help you. That's all I can say. Thank you, Macduff, Tendani from Venda. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. We got Tausia, all the way from Benin Republic. Bonjour. Ça va? All the way from Benin. Thank you so much. Next to my country. Somebody is saying, what? You are on Facebook, but not on YouTube. So whoever says so, whoever says, I don't understand. There are people here who are on YouTube who are watching. Zodwa, thank you, all the way from the UK. Thank you. Thank you. This one is saying, you waste no time, uncle. No, we got to do it that way. All of you guys that are regularly, tuning in, you're people who are seeking for truth, just like myself. And I think together we can actually find some truth concerning our theology, our doctrines in church, how things are conducted. Is it biblical? Is it not biblical? So we have to ask these questions, and we need to. One of the worst things you can ever do is not to ask questions. The moment you begin to stop asking questions, then a whole lot about who you are would be affected. You're not going to be able to fine-tune certain truths. You're not going to be able to fine-tune certain decisions and choices that you make. And I would encourage every one of us to even get to a place where we feel comfortable asking our leaders questions. I see Angela here. Yeah, Angela Ochubaye, a friend of mine in Nigeria. She's saying, well done, Solomon. She is someone, though younger than a lot of her leaders, she asks questions. And we have to ask questions. Asking questions is not disrespect. You're just trying to evaluate things. And every human being can make error, So we need to be able to get to a place where we ask questions, and the questions should be able to help us understand the situation better. No matter how anointed a prophet, an apostle, a pastor, or bishop is, they do make mistakes. Sometimes unintentional mistakes and sometimes intentional mistakes. No matter how big, powerful a ministry, a church is, they do make mistakes. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're looking at, Christ Embassy last weekend had what they call the Global Day of Prayer. Where they all gathered, and you guys know Christ Embassy that is being led by Pastor Chris Oyakilome, with branches all across the world, here in South Africa, up in Europe, up in the US, in Canada, basically everywhere. Now, they had a Global Day of Prayer, which for me, if you hear a Global Day of Prayer, which is a good idea, right? But a time of prayer is important. But then at the same time, how about other things, right? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. But I want to encourage every one of you who's watching now, please subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. I would appreciate. Yes. So we're looking at Christ Embassy. We're looking at Christ Embassy, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome. So let me just put it as Pastor Chris, 5 billion claim, right? So we're looking at Pastor Chris' 5 billion claim. Now, like I said, last weekend, Christ Embassy in Nigeria, Lagos, had a global day of prayer. Now, if you know Christ Embassy is one of these ministries or churches in Africa that is actually on the cutting edge when it comes to technology. They've been able to be very innovative. They've been able to be some of the leaders into using new technology far more than other ministries. Other ministries actually look up to Christ Embassy. You know, Pastor Chris owns media organizations, newspapers, technologies, technological businesses, you know, and they're on the cutting edge. They're very innovative. I mean, you can see it even through music, where we saw people like Frank Edwards, Sinach, Joe Praise, and a whole lot of other artists that came out of Nigeria that are part of Christ Embassy. So they definitely love to be innovative and be very creative, which is a very good thing, you know. And even their broadcasts on their programs, you know, they have a TV channel, Love World, different TV channels. At one point, they have like they call it Yokus. It was more like their own version of a social media networking hub, Yokus. I think it didn't do well. After a couple of years, it went down under. I'm not sure it still exists because I don't hear nothing about it anymore. So they've been very innovative. So when they have programs where they broadcast some of their events, like the Global Day of Prayer, like they just had, they use different platforms to do that. Television, satellite television, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, different apps on online, which is really great, right? So, and like I said, the whole idea of a global day of prayer is very, very encouraging, especially with what we're going through together as a continent and also as a world. It's very encouraging that there are bunch of people that are watching this program. It's important for us to also know that when we do ministry and when we preach, when we have an event, the emphasis, the first priority must never be numbers. And for me, looking at this claim of Christ Embassy saying they had 5 billion viewers during their Global Day of Prayer last week, for me, that is a missed priority. A missed priority because now we're talking about numbers. So it's almost more like what is done outside of the church, businesses or whatever. They put numbers, and that is how you create an image, a brand that people will think you're very powerful. You are everywhere. You're number one. So is Christ Embassy using this 5 billion viewer claim just to be able to have people believe that, you know, they are powerful, just to have people believe that, wow, they're doing something that nobody has done before, you know. Priska here. Priska here is asking, Priska is asking, good morning, Solomon. What happened to your low lip? I said it earlier on. I was helping my kids this morning with their bikes, and then I got stung by a wasp. So please pardon me, this part of it. I removed the sting, so it's going to go away. So I now when I saw the claim that they had 5 billion viewers just last week during that Global Day of Prayer, it got me thinking. It got me thinking about a lot of things. It got me thinking, not the fact that you cannot have that, you know, but the fact that with who Christ Embassy is, what were the possibility of it? The biggest viewership in the whole world when it comes to viewing any event in the world, the biggest viewership never got to 5 billion. And the biggest viewership is the FIFA World Cup final. That is the most watched program, the most watched event globally, that nobody had ever surpassed that. But now Christ Embassy is claiming that they've surpassed the World Cup final. Now, if you know football, if you know soccer, soccer is like a religion for a lot of people. It's a language that the Buddhists, the Hindu, the Scientologists, the Christian, the Muslims, everybody, when it's a World Cup final, everything stands still and they get to watch that. Right? So we have that situation. Now, having that situation means that Christ Embassy has created some sort of a new record. If I remember my statistics very well, you know, the Soccer World Cup, or in the US, you have the Super Bowl. So for you to have 5 billion people watching your event, be it on any other platform, I'm not just saying TV, but I'm saying I'm saying just different platforms. That is something to think about. Right? Sorry, guys. If you would excuse me, give me a minute. My battery, unfortunately, is running down. I just need to connect it. Okay. So I think it is important for us to look at statistics when it comes to TV and technology, all the different viewing platforms, and equate that. We first have to ask ourselves, which is the most viewed program in the world before? What is the world record when it comes to viewing events? Now, for a lot of people, let me put it out there just so people would see what I'm talking about in case you haven't seen it. This is the claim here. Over 5.3 billion watching from all countries. So this is this event. We're not talking about an event that happened for a week, an event that happened for a month. And you cannot even say an event that happened for a month or for a week. You put all the calculation of people who view it. There are people that will be viewing it every day. So you cannot keep counting them every day, you know. But this was what they put on their screen on the day that the live event of the Global Day of Prayer was going on. Over 5.3 billion watching from all countries. Over 5.3 billion watching from all countries. I want you to put emphasis on that 5.3 billion because that is important. And I want to ask you, what do you think the world's population is? What is the global population of the world? How many Christians do we have in the world? It's important. How many Hindus do we have in the world? How many Muslims do we have in the world? It's important because when you look at all of this, you're going to question how they came to over 5.3 billion watching from all countries. So they're watching this program. This screenshot that you see there now, that's what they were watching. It wasn't an accumulation of a program or whatever for a month. So when you say 5.3 billion people were watching, you're technically saying about 75% of the world was watching. So I didn't even know about the program myself. Do you? I didn't know about it until after the program. I didn't watch it, so. How about you? I'm sure almost 90 or 95% of the people that are on this platform didn't even hear about the program and never even got to watch it. So if you are saying 75% of the world watched it, so you're saying out of every 4 people, right? Out of every 5 people, technically you're saying 3 people watched it. Or out of every 10 people, you are saying 7 people watched it. Out of every 10, 1, 2, 3, 10, 7 watched this program. That's how you would arrive to over 5.3 billion people. Now, the possibility of that happening for me keeps vanishing because I don't see how. Over 5.3 billion people. Now, let's look at the world's population. Remember 5.3 billion people? That's the claim. That's the claim of the people who watched that program, right? So now let's look at the world's population. The world's population is currently 7.9 billion, which is almost 8 billion. And based on these statistics, Christians are about 2.5 billion, right? Muslims are about 1.9 billion. So just between Christians and Muslims, obviously, there are Hindus and all that. So we're just even equating between the two most popular religions. So the two most popular religions, Christianity and Islam, there is about almost 4.5 billion people. Mobile internet users are 4.3 billion. Active internet users, 4.6 billion. Households with TV, 1.7 billion. Because remember, the broadcast, the main platform where the broadcast was used was via TV and also via mobile or internet. Now, if they are claiming here that they had over 5.3 billion watching from all countries, and then the world's population is 7.9 billion, then we're saying about 75% of the world's population watched it. We're saying Christians and Muslims, so the whole of the Christians in the world watched it. The whole of the Muslims in the world watched it. And then people that are not even Christians, that are atheists or whatever, or Hindu or Buddhists also watched it. Because if you put Christians and Muslims together, you have 4.4 billion. So it's still about a billion short of the 5.3 billion that they gave us. So there is a problem. Okay. And if we take it further, this is what somebody, says. He said over 940 million people do not have access to electricity. India with 1.36 billion is predominantly Buddhism, Islam. Protestant, and India with over 1.39 billion as dominated with Hindu. So India in itself, with a population of about 1.3 billion, majority of them are Buddhist. You're probably going to say about 80% of India is Buddhist. And then there's a small population of Muslims, and then there's a very small population of Christians. So that's India. So we're saying 1.3 billion that is there in itself. This is the calculation. Before you now go to China, who has an even bigger population, with majority of them, being Buddhist. India, majority of them they're not Buddhists, sorry. Majority of Indians are Hindus and Sikhs. Majority of India, about 80% of India, is Hindu. Hindu is like a national religion for Indians. Muslims are they're minority. They're even being oppressed. Christianity is almost like they didn't exist, in India. I've been to India before. I stayed in India for about a month or so. I've been to some of the temples, Hindu temples, just to understand how this religion works. Everywhere you go to, you see gods in the car, everywhere, somebody burning an incense and all that. It's really intense there in India. It's really intense. So, you see, until we get to a place where we ask questions about what we are told, just like if somebody, a prophet, tells you this person was blind, but now they can see. We need to ask questions. It's not a sin to ask questions. Because if you ask questions, you're either going to find out the truth, and that would build your faith more, or you're going to find out a lie, which would expose what they are trying to do. Remember, charlatans and fake prophets all they're trying to do is to blow up their numbers. From the number of people, you will see somebody giving his profile. You will say his church is a church of 10,000 people. Are you sure his church is a church of 10,000 people? How did he come to that conclusion? But they know that you and I, when we hear numbers, we equate numbers sadly to how anointed or powerful or influential somebody is. It's a numbers game. I'm sure you've heard about that. And they put it there boldly. Over 5.3 billion watching from all countries. They're trying to manipulate you in your mind, because after all the calculation, with the world's population being 7.5 billion, Christians being 2.5 billion, and Muslims being 1.9 billion, I don't see how. So the whole total of Christians and Muslims actually are not even up to the 5.3 billion that they said watch that program. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be people that are not of the Christian faith that are going to watch the program. But why should they watch it? Why should a Muslim watch a global day of prayer? Why should he watch it? Why should billions of them watch it? So you see, we have to be careful when we throw numbers around. And when you hear a number, you ask questions, guys. Ask questions. It's very important to ask questions and not just take everything they say by face value. People are still asking me, Solomon, what happened to your lip, your lower lip? I was helping my kids with their bikes, and then I got stung by a wasp. So it's probably gonna go away later. And no, Papi, I didn't have a fight with Mboro. I don't fight people. Okay. So this claim of 5.3 billion people who watched that program, Global Day of Prayer, last week, the Saturday or Sunday, on the 27th of March by Christ Embassy, for me, it doesn't sit well. For me, I see it as a lie and as manipulation. Is Pastor Chris aware of it? I don't know. Did he endorse them to do that? Maybe. Or maybe the media people decided to up the numbers 100 times more. Maybe only 10 million people watched, or maybe even only 1.5 million, maybe not even up to 1 million people watch. So you need to be able to know that when people are in business, business works through figures. It works through high figures and how much. That's how business works. And I want to encourage you to ask questions. Ask questions. If you don't ask questions, then there's going to be a problem. You're going to be manipulated day in, day out. You're not going to be able to know how certain things and how certain things are going. And that's just the way that it is. No matter who the person is, ask questions. It would only help you understand. So for Christ Embassy to come up with this 5.3 billion people watching, this is not the first time they're doing that. Though this is the first time I'm talking about it. I have a problem with it, and I see it as a deception. Because if it's not a deception, you might as well show us proof. This is how we arrived at it. So I do not agree with it. And I don't think that happened. We want Christ into every home and into every country and every nation, indeed. But we cannot manipulate figures to show that we are taking Christ into all these places. Again, the biggest global event on TV, or that is watched, the most watched event in the world, is the FIFA World Cup final. There is no any other event that has more viewership than the FIFA World Cup final. Now, Christ Embassy is claiming that they actually got even twice the figure that the World Cup final, got. I don't agree with it. Something is wrong. Somebody sat down and created a figure that is totally not right. So thank you, guys. That's all I can share with you this afternoon. I might come back in the evening if my lower lip goes down. Yeah, I removed the whatever you call it as soon as it hit me. I removed it, but so I'm sure later on it's gonna go down a bit. So please, guys, we should be a people that ask questions. We should be a people that keep asking questions and ask and ask and ask. That's how we can find out the truth, not just about TV viewership, but about miracles that would happen in your church, or a prophecy that somebody would give you, or some deliverance, or somebody preaching the word of God. Ask questions. God is not going to be angry with you. If the man of God is angry with you, then they have a problem. You're not disrespecting them. All you're doing is asking questions. So thank you so much. God bless you. Have a good day.